Welcome to episode 73 of the Talking Friars podcast. Ben Fadden here with Jacob Zimmermann on Thanksgiving Eve, November 24th. And today we're going to talk about the position players that are on the free agent market that the Padres could go after and probably should go after. First off, Jacob, how's it going?
Good. Glad to be back doing this. It's been a little while, it feels. Off season kind of starting to heat up now because we don't know how long this lockout's going to be because we know there's going to be one.
It very might slow down very quickly on December 1st, which is when the new CBA has to be agreed upon, or else a lockout will happen. There will be pretty much no business happening because there's no rules, parameters of how teams can go about things, what rules will be in place during games, DH or runner on second base, limiting maybe perhaps number of pitchers so that we don't have a bunch of bullpen arms coming in every game, just little stuff like that. So some of these teams, you're right, some of these teams are going to be going out. We've seen it a little bit, teams coming out before this December 1st date and signing guys just so they can at least say that we've started a little bit of the offseason instead of some teams that will be not have made any moves, and now they can't make any moves because the players in the league have all their egos and they don't want to agree on anything. So I guess that's a totally different topic for another day. So right now, position player free agent options. There's some unrealistic options. Corey Seager, Carlos Correa, Trevor Story, Javier Baez. Those unrealistic because they don't fit the team. And obviously the Padres, even if they did, they wouldn't be paying those guys because of salary and payroll, situations that the Padres find themselves in. Some, more unrealistic options, but that kind of fit the Padres outfield wise, right? Nick Castellanos, guys like that, who is going to command, maybe Chris Bryant even, they're going to command a lot of money. And the Padres, don't really want to, maybe they want those players, but it just doesn't fit payroll wise because of all of the other salary commitments. Some of the salary commitments they don't look good right now, aka Eric Hosmer, and Will Myers a little bit to a degree, and others look really good, like a Jake Cronenworth who's not making much money, or someone who is making money in Fernando Tatis Jr. There's there's both sides of the aisle, if you will. But before we get into specific targets, there are the need that these targets are going to be, need-based, and that's pretty much power-hitting outfielders, specifically on the corners. You could always move Trent Grisham to a corner, but he's won a Gold Glove there already. You have Will Myers right now in right field, penciled in right field. Who knows if he gets traded or if he stays. Jurickson Profar is the only other outfielder on the 40-man roster, and I guess you could consider him an outfielder, but he's more of a utility guy.
Yeah, he can go anywhere.
He played a lot of first base last year pretty well, when Adam Frazier wasn't hitting and Hosmer was on the bench. So that's another position that
something to see.
The point is he's not just a pure outfielder, and he's definitely not. You don't want only three guys, and they're obviously not going to have three outfielders just on the roster. So outfield help, power hitting outfield help. That power department really struggled definitely last year, and it's not really just the outfield, it's more they just need more power in the lineup, period. Adam Frazier's not going to bring you much power. Jake Cronenworth has power, but I think we're talking more about 20-30 homer guys, 35 homer guys, even if they want to pay that to that player, instead of 15 to 23 homers, something like that, with what probably Jake's going to give. Hosmer, even if he's on the team, was he like 15 home runs? It's not great. Manny, Tatis, and Jake, like we mentioned, it's a three-man lineup, kind of power-wise right now. And then after that, you don't have power in the catching position. You don't have power with Adam Frazier, like I mentioned. You don't really have power with Trent Grisham. Myers has power, but it's a lot of strikeout too. So just consistent power. Pham, would he have like 15 homers last year, 18 homers?
Yeah.
So it's not. That's not terrible, but they want more than that. Out of a corner outfield position, which is meant for power, not really defense that much. So the payroll definitely factors into it. We don't really know if Seidler. Well, I think he said that he's willing to go over for the right move, but you'd prefer it to be under. And right now, Spot Track has the payroll at 185 million, so that gives them $25 million of room under that luxury tax. Now, the luxury tax could very well change. It could go down. It could go up. Based on the new CBA and whatnot.
Yeah.
Probably, if it's going to do anything, it's probably going to go down, I would think.
That's what I'm
just
thinking.
for competitive reasons, because the Dodgers spending $280 million, I think, last year. Yankees, Red Sox, teams like that, they can blow over it and they don't really feel anything. So just for competitive reasons, maybe they do that, or there's a salary floor. Now, the Padres don't have to worry about that, but other teams like the A's and the Rays, might need to. And the Rays might have thought that the salary floor is coming with that Wander Franco, mega contract extension.
Yeah.
They don't give out $182 million to anyone. They didn't do that to Evan Longoria, who was like their best player.
I don't think they've ever done that.
Yeah, so the salary floor might be coming, but again, that's another topic for another day with the whole CBA stuff. But for the payroll, 185 million right now, so not a whole lot of room to make deals. The luxury tax space right now, according to Spot Track, it's two different numbers. Like the luxury tax adds in a whole lot of other stuff into it. The payroll, again, 185 million, but the luxury tax space, they say that the Padres are negative 3.8 million with for the tax space, so they don't have any room. Now, I'm not really sure what that whole entails. Because I've seen, Dennis Lin and stuff, they're reporting that the Padres do have room, not a lot of room, but more like the $185 million, like $25 million of room. But then for Spot Track to say that they are already over it by 3.8 million. And that's not saying the 2021 number, that's saying the 2022 number. So I'm kind of confused by that number. So I guess we can just go by the 185 million because that's what the writers are saying, that it's their job to do this. So I think that they know what they're talking about. So we'll just go with Dennis Lin and what all of them are saying. So, $25 million of room. So that kind of takes you out of the Castellano stuff, the Stromans, guys like that, you would think, because they're probably going to command more than 25 million a year. Now, Seidler, again, obviously he's willing to go over. But for this exercise, I think going with guys that are probably going to cost less than that 25 million. Now, you don't want to spend it all on one guy, right? So that also makes your budget go even, more down. So let's see, I have like 7 names, outfielders first, then we'll go to the DHs because that's probably what's going to happen. And so let's start off here. My number one guy to go after, Chris Taylor of the Los Angeles Dodgers, or used to be on the LA Dodgers last year. And he doesn't play just the outfield. He plays second base. He can play shortstop, but he played pretty well in left field last year. Now, you're probably saying, Ben, look, the power, you just went on this whole thing about, power and wanting power, more power. Chris Taylor's not a power hitter. Well, yeah, that's true. But he did still hit 20 home runs last year. And we know AJ Preller and his versatility and how much he loves versatility. And Chris Taylor is that. He's a better Jurickson profile. He's not a switch hitter, but he's a 2.6 WAR player last year, 13 stolen bases, so he can run. Like I mentioned, the 20 home runs. Now, he might not be the greatest fit, you could say, because Jurickson Profar is here, like I mentioned. That's already a utility guy. Cronenworth can play multiple positions, so you can say he's an infield utility guy. Austin Nola, to a degree, can play catcher and first. We know Tatis can play the outfield. Obviously, that's not going to happen until he gets hurt again. You'd think. They want him at short, but that's a whole nother thing. Myers can play all three outfield positions. Grisham can play all three outfield positions if you think. So they do have positional versatility. Machado's playing right field 50% of the time. They do have positional versatility. So that might not be the greatest need. Chris Taylor, he's one of those players that isn't going to, hit the front page. He's not going to be on the front page or anything, or be, especially when Tatis is on the team and stuff like Machado. But he still can be a very impactful piece. MLB trade rumors, that baseball site, they're projecting Chris Taylor to get about $64 million over 4 years. So that's $16 million a year. So that theoretically could fit financially. But again, I think the Padres, with Profar already on the team, they already have to have that contract, which they probably do regret to a degree. I think that it might not be the best fit, but I mean, Chris Taylor, if there's a guy that you want that fits needs, might not be the power need. He has power, but just an overall good baseball player. I mean, that's Chris Taylor.
Yeah, I was thinking I did like that Chris Taylor. I was thinking him more down the line a little bit on my priority list just because of the power, the pop. But if you watched the playoffs last year, you're well aware that he can hit home runs in clutch situations. Which right now I feel like the only guy that does that is Fernando on a consistent basis. Maybe Jake Cronenworth here and there.
And even Fernando wasn't that clutch.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like Chris Taylor was like, I'd say I've heard his name, at least when we played us, besides AJ Pollock, he was one of the ones that was killing us. So maybe he likes playing in San Diego. Who knows? But yeah, him, he's got that versatility. You said he hit 20 home runs. That's more than our outfielders hit, any one of them, I think. And yeah, he's got the versatility. He's a pretty good fielder too. He's not awful. I'd say he's probably better than Pham, at least. He can see the ball. He doesn't have an eye, something there, but I like that one. I'd have him a little bit more down. I had a different number one. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I was following him a little bit this year. I like that one though. He was definitely on my list of, a notable person I would watch out for.
And now to the next 6 names I had. I'll ask you what your number one was when we're done with this. This isn't any particular order, but these names, we'll go just one by one, kind of like Chris Taylor. Next one, Jock Peterson, outfielder. You could say he's a DH option as well because the glove isn't that great. But
I would put him there,
yeah. If you're talking about, power, it's there. I know that he had a negative WAR last year, but again, that's factoring in defense. Negative 0.1 WAR. He did have 18 home runs. Hit, even more home runs in the postseason with the Braves. Played really well. His personality obviously will fit, in the clubhouse. 422 slugging percentage last year. Obviously, he played well, I believe, against the Padres when he was with the Dodgers. It seemed like he was coming up big, whenever the Padres were playing the Dodgers. So he knows the division well, the NL West. And I think he wants to be on a contender, right? He wants to win again. Now, he might very well go back to the Braves, just because of him winning a World Series there. But he won a World Series in 2020 with the Dodgers and then went to the Cubs for, $7 million. And I think that's probably what the range he's going to get again, because last year it wasn't like oh my God, Jock Peterson, where is this? It wasn't like a breakout year. It was still kind of more the same. He just got more playing time. If there's no DH or whatever, or he's better to be, in a corner outfield spot. He could platoon. He hits way better. I was looking up his numbers this morning on Baseball Reference. Hits way better versus right-handed pitchers than left. And the Braves knew that. And the Cubs, whatever, they had, he had way less at bats. I think he had over 300 against righties and like a little over 100 against lefties. But again, knows the division well, could be a platoon option. And I think that he fits under the category of, options that are going to cost probably less than $10 million.
Yeah, it's an affordable option.
On a 1-year deal. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. He did, kind of boost his free agency stock, I'd say, after that crazy playoff tear he went on. You could say the same thing about Jorge Soler as well. But I think Jock Peterson, I wanted him actually when before he signed with the Cubs. I thought that was a guy that the Padres could look at, if they kept the DH, because I see him more as a DH kind of guy. Because obviously, if we didn't have Eric Hosmer, I would plug him at first, because I kind of see the same, with Eric Hosmer and Jock. I just see a lot more power with Jock, which is why I think he's a good option. But it's a very cost-friendly option. As you say, it's going to be under the $10 million, which is, I think, when you get into that $10 million per year range, it becomes a lot. So it's a very affordable option. I think that it's, you're going to get what you want. You're going to get power, and that's what we need right now.
Yeah. Again, the power is obviously, going to be a main, I guess, box that you got to check for the Padres this offseason, because Jake Marisnick didn't do it at the deadline last year.
Oh man. Yep.
Grisham had a down year. You'd think that he'd rebound, but even then he's not a power hitter. He's more of a leadoff guy. And Will Myers has power, but I think his days of has he had a 30 homer season, like 25 to 30 homers? I think those days are over. More like
it was 2016,
20 homers, something like that. So the Powers definitely needs to, come back. One guy that not a lot of people are talking about, but he does have power, and that's Andrew Mccutchen.
I was just about to say
he used to play with the Phillies. Outfielder, could be a bench bat. I know some people, with, his age, 35 years old, you might not want him playing, every game or whatever. But this guy, he can still hit. A WAR of 1.4, like 27 home runs last year, 80 RBIs in 2021. So again, 35 years old, so he probably won't cost much. Based on just the way, I'm not sure he lived up to expectations in Philly, over that contract. He was worth about $10 million a year last year, according to Fangraphs' dollar value metric. So that could be in the same range on a 1-year deal, 1 year and a mutual option, 1 year club option, something like that. And I think the Mccutchen, he hasn't won a World Series. You think that he'd want to be on a contender, and the Padres on paper, fit that. Don't get
you hope so.
On paper they
you hope so.
That.
Yeah.
I know on paper that doesn't mean anything, based because definitely what we saw last year.
I don't trust the paper anymore.
But I think that's all you can really judge. I think the new manager, right, Bob Melvin, I think that's a factor. But Mccutchen, I like the option. People aren't talking about him at all. Like on Hot Stove on MLB Network or anything, about, Mccutchen as an outfield option for teams. And now I understand, because they might talk about him later when other guys are signed. Starling Marte, Michael Conforto, Chris Bryant, Nick Castellanos, those guys are going to get the, big headlines because those are the big names. But I mean, Mccutchen, he's definitely a viable option in my opinion.
Yeah, 100% nailed it on the dot. I was thinking of Andrew Mccutchen right before you said that. I was looking at his stats right here. And when I looked it up, I knew he hit a lot of home runs, because he kind of had like a not breakout, but kind of a bounce back year in terms of power, because of his age. He's getting older.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, he hit 27 home runs. That's a pretty good amount for, a 35-year-old.
I don't think anyone was talking about him because, Bryce Harper winning the MVP totally overshadowed anyone else on the Phillies.
Yeah. I mean, and he was just kind of, in the shadows right there, but he was doing his thing. I feel like every time I watched him, now that I think about it, I feel like every time I watched him, he's hit a home run or he's gotten on base a lot. He's always been a good defender in my opinion. Every time at least all the highlights I've seen of him, he's robbed some home runs. I'm pretty sure he's, been a pretty good guy. He has a positive WAR at least. It's more than I can say about a lot of people. Eric Hosmer. But that's a really good option, I think. I don't think it would be insanely expensive. Maybe it might be in the same range as Jock Peterson, maybe a little bit more just because he hit a lot of home runs compared to Jock Peterson. But then again, you got to factor in that age. But I think, again, that's a very viable option for a team like this that needs power. It's a big option.
Yeah. I mean, as we're saying that, kind of comparing Kutch and Jock's contracts, I'm going to look up what was Andrew McCutchen's contract with the Phillies, because that was 3-4 years ago. 3 years, 3 years, $50 million with the Phillies. He signed that in December of 2018. So obviously he was 32 years old. Mm-hmm. So 50 divided by 3, 16 a year. He's 3 years older. He did have an injury, right? Kinsler, right? Mm-hmm. Kinsler on the rundown in San Diego. He hurt his ACL, I think. So I think that 16 million number is going to go down, because of age. Maybe there's just isn't a market as there was back then, of a 1-year deal for a guy who's 35 as opposed to a 1-year deal for someone who just came off like Soler or Peterson, who just came off great, World Series. McCutchen hasn't been in the postseason, obviously, in those 3 years with Philly. So maybe that plays a factor. And I don't want to really bring this point up just because we've seen someone, I'll just say it, leadership. He'll bring leadership to the clubhouse. Now, I think that you don't really need leadership in the outfield. Maybe you do with Grisham, because Kutch won an MVP as a center fielder, maybe. But you don't really need leadership, I guess, because you have Machado. But the whole leadership thing, and I'm referencing Eric Hosmer and how the whole leadership thing was really emphasized that this guy's going to be a great leader. And it seems like he is, I guess, in the clubhouse. Like the guys love him and all that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I don't know if he does it by his play, though.
He doesn't lead by his actions.
That's a good example. Yeah.
I'll say that. At least if you look at his career in a Padre uniform, Kansas City fans, they might disagree, but guess what? We're not talking about him 5 years ago. Yeah. Take him back. But so Andrew McCutchen, I think he's a good option. I think he'll respect that what the Padres are doing. I think that's, you can say that with everyone that I'm naming here. So I think McCutchen's a good option. Again, like a 1-year, maybe 2-year type thing. And then another guy, Mark Canha, with the A's, has that Bob Melvin connection. Again, he's not going to command a whole lot of money, maybe a 1-year, 2-year deal. A lot of these guys are short-term just because they're not, deemed as a star player, or at least a star player anymore in McCutchen's right. So they're just not going to have the interest. They're not in their prime years, maybe Jock, but they're not in their prime years, or Chris Taylor too, even though I think he's over 30, but they're not in their prime years like, Castellanos and Chris Bryant and guys like that, have been all-star games more recently and all that. But Mark Canha, 2.5 WAR last year. which was almost the same as Chris Taylor. And Canna didn't even play the same, all of these different positions like Taylor did that probably helped Taylor's WAR. 17 homers for Canna. So that's in the Will Myers homer range.
I'd say, yeah.
61 RBIs. Now, the one kind of red flag, I guess, that you could say is the strikeouts had 128 of them last year. So that's going to be a problem, I would think. Yeah, that's a lot. But we can't act like we haven't faced strikeout problems with an outfielder for the last 5 years or whatever in Will Myers.
True, yeah.
So, I mean, geez, it was like Sunday games. It was like it felt like he was striking out 4 times a game. It was just strike 3, walk back to the dugout. Strike 3, walk back to the dugout. Swing and a miss. So I'm glad that the strikeouts have kind of gone down, I guess, for Myers. But as for Mark Canna, he might better be served as a bench piece. Maybe, Bob Melvin can get in his ear and say, hey, if you take less money, maybe we'll start you on the bench, and if you, play better, I'm going to play the best 9 guys, best 3 outfielders, and maybe, you can start at some point. But I think Mark Canna with Kutch can be maybe another fallback option.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably be a cheaper option, I think. Especially if you have a connection like Bob Melvin, that, he knows the guy, he's been with him for a while now. And, he's kind of getting up there in age, 33 years old. That's not the oldest, but it's, it's out of his prime, I'd say.
Yeah.
But, I think he can still produce, especially as a bench bat, I'd say. But who knows?
And the A's are, rebuilding, so I don't think they're going to bring him back. So I
think you would want to go to a contender. You want to go to a team especially if you're getting older in age. Why not go for a team that can get you a championship, something like that. And if you start as a bench bat, and you produce and you're good, you can go into the starting lineup and prove yourself then there. Get more money later on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Played with Profar for a year, 2 years with Oakland. Obviously, the Bob Melvin connection. He might have another coach on the staff. Ryan Christensen's been, rumored to talk with the Padres for the bench coach position. So to follow Bob Melvin to San Diego from Oakland. So that's a possibility. I think he's not the, big name. He's not going to hit 30 homers a year. So maybe that's not the ideal fit for the Padres, but it's a cheaper option. And I don't think it's going to be a long-term deal, obviously. So him, Kutch, Tommy Pham, which we'll get to, I think those are good fallback options if other guys, bigger names, don't come to San Diego. Another guy that I really like, Absol Garcia. He had almost a 3 WAR last year, 29 bombs, 86 RBIs, and 820 OPS. Any OPS over 800 is pretty much considered, above average. That was his last year's numbers. I was kind of shocked. I knew Garcia's a power hitter, but over his last 3 full seasons, so 2018, 2019, and 2021, he's hit a combined 68 home runs. So almost 70 homers in his last 3 full seasons. Again, almost 30 homers this past year for the Brewers. And I don't believe that I don't think he was a starter for every game for the Brewers.
No, because they had Lorenzo King, Jackie Bradley, Yelich, him. So they were kind of subbing Bradley in there too with Locaine and him. But then he kind of started popping off and they started playing him a lot more.
Yeah. Let me see here. Looking up his stats, 2021, 135 games. So yeah, he was a starter, but he wasn't playing every day.
Yeah.
And he still managed to hit 29 bombs. This guy, this is this would be in the Padres price range if we're going off of like predictions and MLB trade rumor predictions. They say he's getting 3 years, $36 million, which would be doable for us. That's, what is that? $12 million a year, 12 times 3. I'm not in math mode.
That's fine with me.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
12 million a year. I mean, that's pretty good. I think I was kind of surprised, it was kind of that low. I mean, $12 million is $12 million, but
guy that does 29 home runs and like that 31.
Yeah, he hits like that, and if the DH comes, I mean, even you can put him there if you want him off his feet a little bit. Almost a 3-WAR player. So that's an impact player. I think that he's a really good fit for the Padres. I think that you could see the Padres, really going after him. The Brewers, I'm not quite sure, they're still stuck under that Jackie Bradley Jr. Contract, I think, with a player option or something. Yelich obviously is there. They have Tyrone Taylor, I think, a young player.
Mm-hmm.
So he could return to Milwaukee, but I don't think they're going to want to, go bidding for him with other teams. Other teams obviously are going to try to get him, I would think. The Giants need outfield help if they don't bring back Chris Bryant and, stuff like that. I mean, there's obviously, and this is with every player, except it looks like with the Padres and Eric Hosmer, where they just outbid themselves. Don't even get me started with that. Like Boris pretty much telling the media, oh, no, the Red Sox are interested, and then they go sign Mitch Moreland for like 1 year. It's like, come on, no, they weren't interested. Anyway. But Absol Garcia, I think he's in the price range. I think that he's a good fit. I don't know about you.
This was my number one guy, believe it or not. Absol Garcia. I followed him a lot last year. I watched a lot of his games, or a lot of his highlights, I'd say, because, he was hitting a lot of home runs, 29 home runs. I feel like he was kind of went under the radar, kind of like Mccutchen, but I think he was a way bigger producer, especially with the 29 home runs. He batted over 250 with the over 800 OPS, which is, very good in my opinion. I mean, I think it's worth 12 million a year, if you're going just on a 3-year deal. He's not insanely old. He's not in the 35-year-old range. He's only 31. Kind of entering, it seems like he's about to enter, or he might have already entered that prime of his, 31, 30-year age. I think that the Padres should do a very aggressive push for this, not outbid themselves, obviously, but I think that if they can, I would really try and go after him, because I think it's a very good option. You can put him in right field, put him in left, but I think he's a very, very good power option. Considering what we got right now, I think that that's a really good option.
Yeah, and I'm just looking right now at the amount of games, I think, because that's also an obviously important factor. You don't want to sign someone that probably isn't going to stay on the field. And 2021, 135 games. Out of the 60 games in 2020, he played 53 of them. 2019, 125 games. 2018, 93, but then 17, he played 136. And you're just seeing consistently over, 120 games. And I think that, you could look at it as like, oh, wow, 40 games, that's a lot. Yeah, but, we even saw with Fernando, like, he missed 30 games, and he arguably should have won MVP. So I think that, it's as long as you're, consistently showing that you're able to be on the field, I think that a team like the Padres should seriously, have interest in it. I'm sure they've already, considered him along with a lot of other options. And I think we both agree. Garcia has to be at the top of the list of outfield options, purely outfield options that, you go after. And now the next two that I had are interesting options. One of them isn't going to happen, but, why not? Another guy is a fallback option. And then we'll get to the DHs, and then, well, before that, then I'll ask Jacob any other guys he would think or had, thought of in his head. But the two guys, here, let's keep the suspense going a little bit for the guy that isn't going to happen, but why not talk about it? So I'll start first with Tommy Pham. Fallback option. I know some fans. It's weird because some fan. I mean, I know you're like, why are you laughing? But it's like because some fans, they don't like him because of maybe ways that he's seen himself treat fans or whatnot, or they don't like him because he's partying too much and instead of focusing on baseball. Which one is wrong. I think that. I mean, party all you want, I guess. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying
just don't get stabbed. All right, just don't get stabbed.
I'm saying that he works his butt off. I mean, anyone that is around the team, they'll tell you that. Like, he didn't struggle these last 2 years or play not up to the level that he wanted to because he's not putting in the work. He's really putting in the work, and I think what Tingler said last year or something in spring training that they had to give him days. They didn't want to give him days off during spring training games because they knew that if he had a day off, he'd be in the cage all day. So that's how much he works. Like, so I mentioned it last year, like when he was struggling at the beginning of the year, I was like, I'm confident that he'll turn it around. And guess what? He did. Did he turn around all year? No. It was like a month stretch where it was like, holy cow, this is Tampa Bay Tommy Pham now. Yeah. And so that was really cool to see. And you'd think that if he can do it for a month, I mean, if you just find consistency, I mean, if you're the pro Pham camp, and I am, not for him to like be a starter until he proves it. But like to be a bench guy on a 1-year deal, I would be up for that. And I think that a part of it is the accountability. Like he mentioned to Annie Halbrun before the season ended that he's willing to take a 1-year deal and he knows his market, take a 1-year deal here and, reestablish himself to get him a bigger deal. And if that's it for Tommy Pham, we get 1 year and then he's gone. Okay. Because that means that he reestablished himself and he had a good year here.
Yep.
So I'd be in on that. He had 18 homers last year. You'd like to see that number up, 61 RBIs, 20 stolen bases. So that's, the speed's still there. The average, I know average is overrated in these days, but I still like to look at it because if you're getting a hit, you're getting on base. All I care about is if you get on base. And so the 226 average isn't great. But again, the accountability factor that that he wants to perform and it's not for a lack of effort. So what are your thoughts on, Tommy coming back?
I'm a Tommy Pham fan. I've been a fan of Tommy Pham.
Yeah, say that 5 times.
Yeah. I've been a fan of him since we went and saw him in 2019, I think it was, spring training. Was able to, give him a high five over there on the sideline.
2020. 20. It was like
the beginning
before,
of 2020, right? Yeah.
Shutdown, yep.
It was like the last week we saw him. He was a really cool guy. I think he really likes being in San Diego, like he was talking about with Annie. He wants, if he's willing to take that 1-year deal, I think that's what he'll get. I think that's the most he'll get in my opinion, but I think it's something, the Padres should seriously look into because I feel like he's got a chip on his shoulder now. He works he absolutely works his butt off. I think he's working out every single day. He's probably working out right now. Who knows?
I just think a video on Instagram of him doing all these weird exercises. So
if he can do all those weird exercises, as long as he can, hit some punch, and I think that if he signs this 1-year deal, he'll start on that bench again, kind of like what he was last year. He went down to the bench, and then he started to heat up a little bit, and then all of a sudden he's put back in the leadoff spot. So if he can do something like that again, I think that would be a huge dub for the Padres. I think that's something that they should really look into, seriously consider, maybe even going after a bigger name free agent or someone that did play a little better last year. And then maybe also bringing back Pham too, as kind of like a bench option.
Yeah, I think, yeah. We mentioned, Mark Canha, Andrew McCutchen, guys like that. I think those two fall in the same category as Pham, kind of as fallback options, maybe bench options, because they do. I mean, another priority. The starter you obviously want first, starting outfielder, power outfielder, the bigger contract probably, obviously. The bench needs more power. Ha-Seong Kim, sorry, that's not power. Jake Marisnick, that's not power. Profar, that's not power. That's three guys. Marisnick's not there, but Kim and
like, thank God.
Yeah, Kim and Profar, that's two right there. Caratini, that's not power, right? That's three. What, you have two more on the bench, maybe one more on the outfield. So you need a power bat there. You can't just have another guy up there. Ha-Seong Kim, it felt like every time, besides like the Reds game, he, in that one homer I remember he hit in Arizona, like he would either like strike out or pop up to the third baseman. Like that's what my mom was saying.
Yeah.
Like he pops up to the third baseman all the time. I'm like, yep, he's Gold Glove caliber, but the power is just not there. So the power. We're just gonna keep saying it, but they need a starting power bat and a bench bat. And that's why we're saying that, Tommy Pham, guys like that, that's a good combination to have him on a 1-year cheap type deal. And then you're able to grab, a starter on a multi-year deal, something like that. I think that's a good option because the power needs to come back. You can't really emphasize.
We need Slam Diego back. We need that back.
Yeah.
We need that Slam Diego power. We need to get a bunch more home runs because I feel like last year it was there, but it was in very short spurts. And I feel like we need a little more consistency. I think that's a huge emphasis on this free agency period.
Yeah. All right. So we've got Chris Taylor, Jock Peterson, Andrew McCutchen, Mark Canha, Absol Garcia, Tommy Pham, and now one off the wall guy.
It's not going to happen, probably.
Yeah, not going to happen. But why not? Hey, this is a fan podcast. We're just spitting out names. The one I say, Adam Jones, San Diegan. I don't know if you thought that's where I was going with this.
It wasn't. That's different.
Okay. I'll ask you one too, but Adam Jones, not happening. For anyone who doesn't know, he's playing in Japan. I think he speaks Japanese now. Like I think I quote tweeted something on Twitter where he was like speaking a full conversation in Japanese and not like this slow, like some Spanish thing where I'm like,
he's like fluent.
Yeah. Like, almost. Yeah, like so I think he's totally in on, playing in Japan. He is 36. So definitely the age is up there. I know 36 is young, but it's not young in baseball terms. But 14 homer. He's only, the power's not really there. He's hit 14 home runs the last 2 years in Japan. And Japan on the Nippon, whatever professional baseball league. The power, it's just not there anymore. But he's a good glove.
Really good
I think
glove.
He does make contact. Obviously he was an all-star, with Baltimore, teammates with Manny Machado.
The World Baseball Classic here, robbed a home run.
Exactly. He had his signature. I think anyone thinks Adam Jones, I think his signature moment is robbing, who was it? Machado. Robbing Machado.
That's crazy.
At the World Baseball Classic, yeah.
At Petco Park.
So that was crazy. Guess who was his teammate? Former Padres Ian Kinsler and now current Padre Eric Hosmer. So things are totally full circle.
Jeez.
Wow. But I just feel like throwing that name out there. I know he's from San Diego. I think before he went to Japan, I think he like worked out at SDSU and stuff. Where'd he go? Madison?
Um,
High school?
I think it was a green school. I think it was either Madison or Lincoln, or not.
Okay.
No, Madison or I think it was Madison. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
because it was like
But
a Hawk or something like that. I don't remember.
yeah, let's see. Adam Jones. There he is. What a middle name too. Adam Lamarque Jones.
Hmm.
All right. Oh yeah, that's right. He played for the Mariners.
Oh,
Mariners, Orioles, Diamondbacks. Finished with the Diamondbacks. Born in San Diego. Uh, Five-time All-Star, four-time Gold Glove, Silver Slugger in 2013. Won gold with Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. He came up as a shortstop before transitioning to the outfield. All right. So early life. Huge Tony Morse High School.
Morse. It started with an M. Okay.
At Morse, Adam Jones was a teammate of future Orioles teammate Quentin Berry. I think Quentin Berry I feel like he's he's Brewers first base coach, I think.
I was like, I've never heard that name.
Oh, really? Yeah, I saw him. It must have been the playoffs that I saw him. But yeah, I think anyway, Adam Jones not going to happen. But I was like, that's like a name like he hasn't won a World Series. Like that's like a total name that like if Preller just called him out of the blue and Machado's on the conference call and be like, hey Adam, you want to come to San Diego for a year and like $1 million and here you go. What is he making in Japan?
Not that much, probably. He's probably making.
Well, he's probably making more actually. That's probably why he went to Japan in the first place. But like, he was probably receiving like minor league deals, and then he was like, "Oh, I'll just go to Japan." But
yeah, that could be it. Yeah.
But
I think $1 million to play in the MLB though.
I'm pretty sure he's good on money. Get to play for your hometown team. I mean, come on. But the only thing there though, just for, to be serious is the power's not there. So and you're taking up a bench spot, and you already have Profar and Kim under contract. So and he's not really a fit, but
it'd be cool to see.
It would be a cool kind of story. Yeah. Who was your option that either it's your option or what you thought I was going to say for the off the wall kind of not going to happen outfield option?
Oh, I thought you were just gonna throw out Nick Castellanos or something like that, like Marte or something like that.
Yeah,
like
no,
the big names.
No, I mentioned that earlier in the episode about guys that just don't fit, because of the money and all that. Ketel Marte is not a free agent. He is a compelling option. I've heard that name brought up. Great player, all-star, center fielder. So I know Grisham's there, but but the only thing there is he's in division, and the Diamondbacks, while that they're rebuilding with terrible contracts on the books. Madison Bumgarner, one of them. I think that I'm fine with that. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I think that they're not going to trade Marte with multiple years of control inside the division for him to just go up to Chase Field and rake off of him.
Off of Bumgarner.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they'll leave that to the current Barassa Padres and not, add that on. But so these are the outfield options that I've had. Chris Taylor, Jack Peterson, Andrew McCutchen, Mark Canha, Absol Garcia. That was our big one that, think that's a great fit. Adam Jones not happening, but why not? Tommy Pham, fallback option. Him, McCutchen, and Canha kind of fall under that same category. Before we move on to the DHs, any other outfielders come to mind for you?
I had one. It might sound a little bit weird just because he's had, or this past year he had a pretty down year, I'd say. but Michael Conforto, I think, from the New York Mets. He's a known very good power hitter, especially from 2017 to 2019. I mean, he was hitting 27, 28, and then 2019 he hit 33 home runs. And I'm just thinking pure power right now. And even last year in that 60-game season, or I guess 2 seasons ago now, he hit 322. I know average isn't a lot, but he hit 322. He had a very good OPS, 927 in 60 games, and out of those 60 games he played 54. So I know it's still a small sample size, but he plays a lot of the games. This past season didn't play as much compared to someone like Absol Garcia, because I think that they'll be in the same kind of price range. Maybe this guy might even be a little more expensive, but I mean the power's there. He can hit home runs, and I honestly don't think he wants to go back to the Mets. But that's just my kind of opinion. I'd say, just because I'm a known Mets hater over here. No.
Interesting. Yeah. What I'd say, I mean, I like Conforto, lefty. I think that the main kind of problem with that is his agent, and that's Scott Boris, obviously. We know this guy can be a real handful. And I know a lot of Padre fans don't like Boris now because of what he did with Hosmer. He did his job. He got a lot of money out of the Padres. Yeah. Good for him. But I think that, based on Boris's conversations with reporters about Conforto, what I think is he's going to command more money than
he's worth.
We thought that you would think, because like you mentioned, the track record, he's been to a World Series, but yeah, I mean, I'll look up an article here. It says, Scott Boris called Conforto the King of Queens at the GM meetings in November this month. Called him the King of Queens. So does that mean that he wants to stay? Let's see. Conforto has been kind of the king of diamonds. Little League World Series, College World Series. As a Met, he's been an All-Star, a pennant winner. He's basically become the King of Queens. That's interesting because some Mets fans don't even want him anymore, so don't think he's the King of Queens. I mean, he's 29. He's going to be 29 when the 2022 season starts. So he is, kind of in his prime, so I can buy, that. He is a good option. I wouldn't be opposed to him, but I think that Boris is going to keep trying to drive up that price. That's true. He might end up going back to the Mets because Steve Cohen might be tired of missing out on guys and being used. Like he was for the Steven Matz thing, and ends up, overpaying for him because he is a Met. Now the Mets might want to go with Starling Marte in center and move Brandon Nimmo, Don Smith maybe in left or whatever. But I think that Conforto, it's more likely he stays with the Mets than comes to the Padres. And I think because of the price. I think Boris, to be honest, I think he's trying to get like a 5 to 7 year deal up for Conforto. And I would not do that if I were the Padres.
No. So I was thinking he would get like a 3-4 max, to be honest. Yeah. I would like, I didn't know that Boris was his agent, because it's very known that Boris is going to get his guys a lot of money.
And yeah, I mean, there's another quote here about maybe this is a lie, and it probably is, but Boris is, talking about how much interest there is in Conforto, and that's obviously wouldn't play into the Padres' favor, because if there's more interest, more offers, driving up offers, pinning one team against another. But Boris said at these same GM meetings that were in Carlsbad, he says, in free agency now, he's kind of like the ace of many GM's hearts, referring to Conforto. Certainly, we've seen from the interest level that everybody is understanding of the COVID issue and what dealt with the first few months of the season. So he's referring to Michael Conforto having COVID, and that's kind of why he struggled. Okay. buy into that, whatever. Yeah. I think everybody understands who Michael is and what he means at the leadership level to teams. Frankly, the interest level has been extraordinary. I haven't heard anything about teams being interested in Michael Conforto, so I don't buy that. But okay. I think everybody understands who Michael is and what he means at the leadership level. All right. That sounds like him saying that about Eric Hosmer. So let's not go that route again. Maybe you want to stay away from Conforto then.
Stay away from Boris's agents or his clients or whatever.
Yeah. And his guys, I mean, is Stroman Boris? I think Stroman. No, I don't think so. But Boris has Seager this year, Max Scherzer. So no. Semien, no. Chris Bryant. I mean, that would be cool, but no. Castellanos, no. And Carlos Rodon, maybe, probably not. So I think the Padres will just stay away from Boris, and Preller's like, yeah, we're not coming to you until there's a player we need, because he kind of screwed us over there.
He did his job. Props to him, but it was a little much.
Yeah. But so Conforto, yeah, I can buy that, but
it's just another name I was looking at.
Yeah. I think they'll stay away from that. I think we both agree Absol Garcia is probably a really good option to go.
I think so. Him and Chris Taylor, I think, are the top ones they should go after. If not,
I don't think, if I recall, I don't even think I mentioned this. But Chris Taylor, another thing about signing him, not even just what you're getting in him, but you're taking him away from the Dodgers. That makes the Dodgers worse. Yeah. They don't have Kike Hernandez. He's with Boston, so they don't have a utility guy unless you want to put Gavin Lux there. So that makes.
They're going to lose Seager too.
Yeah, you'd think that would. So that's going to make the Dodgers worse, and that makes the Padres better. And
they got Heaney, so they're getting worse. So it's better.
The Dodgers are. I know this is Padres, not Dodgers, but the Dodgers have a lot of decisions. We thought we had decisions. I mean,
they got a bunch.
I mean, they have a bunch of free agents: Kenley Jansen, Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, Seager, Chris Taylor, Corey Knebel. Who else?
Joe Kelly.
Joe Kelly, that's another one.
And they got to deal with that whole Bauer situation still too.
Yeah. And they're still paying him, which still is that just doesn't make sense. Sure, you can go assault someone and you still get paid. So anyway, but so those are the outfield options. Before we close here, the DH options. I have two, and then I'll ask you when we're done. But first one, Kyle Schwarber. I think this guy fits. A left-handed hitting bat.
I love that guy.
I mean, 3.2 WAR, has a good personality. 32 bombs last year with
and
Washington.
That huge stretch with the Washington Nationals.
Yep. Oh my goodness, that guy. That was like Barry Bonds-esque, except Schwarber wasn't cheating, obviously. Have to get that in there. But yeah, Schwarber, 928 OPS last year. 70 home runs in his last two full seasons combined. So 2019 and 2021. I mean, talk about power. This guy is power. I might be all in on this guy now, not overpay all in, because there are other options, and I guess there are other fallback options. But so he might be out of the Padres' price range. MLB Trade Rumors is projecting him to go 4 years, $70 million. So I don't know if the Padres want to give him 4 years. Maybe they'd go two or three.
Yeah.
4 years seems kind of a little much. Maybe like a mutual option or something, or a club option, just to kind of give the Padres a safety net. But I'd be on it. I'd be in on him for a short-term deal because, okay, if it doesn't work and it's a lot of strikeouts, again, it might be a lot of strikeouts, but it's a lot of home runs. And if you put him in the middle of the lineup, you think that Cronenworth and Machado and Tatis, some of them are going to be on base at some point, and Adam Frazier, who knows if they put him lead off or whatever, and he has a better year. You think that
they play him, yeah.
Yeah. I'd be in on Schwarber.
Oh yeah, big time.
I think the problem though is I think the problem though is just the competition. I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be interested. I know that the Red Sox probably aren't going to be interested because he's not, he's more of a DH and they have JD Martinez already there. But I mean, you go down the line of teams that, they might want a DH, and there's, especially if you had in the National League, I mean, that obviously adds 15 teams, but I mean, there's going to be a bunch of interest.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he absolutely tore it up last year. 100% he deserves to get paid. It's just maybe he'd want to take a little bit less to come to the Padres. I doubt it, but it would be cool because, he would be a DH. He can still play first. He can play catcher even, I think. He can play, the outfield, but he would be a DH guy. He'll be that guy that you're looking to hit 25 to 30 home runs. Maybe struggles with the strikeouts, like you said, but I don't think that's an issue. If you're not going to bat him lead off like the Nationals did. I don't think. I think you're going to put him in, that the 4 or 5 spot, where he can, have people on base. He can get those RBI situations. It's just I don't think we would really want to go in on a long-term 4-year deal where we're kind of going all in on him.
And that's with any DH. I mean, because DH, I don't think you want to give – I mean, I know this is a totally, might be too much of a stretch, but I mean, with the Yankees, with Stanton, has he been playing well? Was he their best player in that wild card game this year? Yeah. But I mean, that contract is massive, and a DH, you pay that much money in long-term to a DH.
Mm-hmm.
I think DH, you're better off making it, if you're going to go with a firm DH, like Schwarber probably would be, short-term, because you don't know what's going to happen with the roster. You don't know if, I mean, knock on wood, but what if Tatis can't stay healthy? And the DH can be an insurance option for him to kind of help stay healthy for a year, for maybe 1 year or the second half of the season or something, or, use it with Machado to get him days off. You want flexibility there, I think. So I think that's the only problem I think that's a big problem if you go long-term with the designated hitter position.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that was kind of the reason why I actually don't want to say that. I was going to say that that's kind of why we got rid of Franmil Reyes and Hunter Renfroe. Not Hunter Renfroe, but Franmil Reyes, just because, he was young, but he was going to get paid. He was going to get paid soon. It was going to be a couple years down the line, but he was going to get paid just because of how much he produced. He had a bunch of home runs in a short span of time, it felt. But if you get a guy like Kyle Schwarber, maybe, he can get him under that 4-year range. I feel like 2 to 3 years, you're not trapped. You're not actually you're not wasting money. It feels you're not sending money to this guy where he's just gonna hit. You're not gonna have flexibility with him. You're not gonna have a fallback option for other guys. If they need a rest day, like you said. I feel like you want to try and get him in that 2 to 3 year range, maybe with the club option. Try and work something out like that. But I feel like if the Padres can, they should make a serious push. Even though there's going to be a ton of competition, 100%. This guy, it was craziest tear I've ever seen. In the last, I can't even remember. It was probably the craziest I've ever seen. Seriously watching baseball, I feel like it was crazy, but
these were bombs.
Oh yeah, they were absolutely crushed. This guy, he deserves it 100%. No, I'm not trying to take credit away from him, but for a guy like him, strikeouts are maybe a concern. But he hits bombs. That's what the Padres need. At the end of the day, you want to, not waste money, but you also want a guy that can hit bombs. So where do you meet at the middle ground?
Yeah. And so Schwarber, Another guy I'd be more in on because it would be short term. It's not guaranteed to cost you as much money as Nelson Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously older, but I mean, he's aging.
41.
He's aging like fine wine. I mean,
Oh yeah.
when is this guy going to stop hitting? I know when he went from Minnesota to Tampa Bay this year, he didn't produce great. But I mean, I'd bet on this guy any day. He
Mm-hmm.
still had a 2.5 WAR last year, 32 bombs, and 832 OPS. He's had 110 home runs in his last 3 full seasons. 1 year, 10, $12 million range, maybe 15, push it up to that if there's a bunch of interest, if the DH comes to the National League. And that's obviously what we're assuming because you're not going to need a DH if there is no universal DH. But I mean, Nelson Cruz, this guy just hits and he keeps hitting and he keeps hitting. It doesn't matter how old he gets. And I think that the Padres are going to be interested, and I don't think there's any doubt that they're going to be interested.
Oh, no, yeah.
And I think there's proof of that because last year there were reports at the deadline that
we
they
were
at least talking about him coming and playing like first or second base.
That's
second
crazy.
Base. Yeah, because
Nelson
of how much they needed power and all that. And they had Machado and Tatis talked to Cruz a little bit about playing in San Diego. So they're obviously interested, and they were interested when he wouldn't even fit on the team. And if he fits on the team, I think they're really going to be interested. So I think that would be a really great target. I mean, it's only going to be a 1-year deal, 2-year deal at the most.
Yeah.
And I think if it takes the Padres to go 2 years on him to get him, because everyone else wants to do 1-year deals, I think they do it. Because the owner, Peter Seidler, he's willing to spend money. He's willing, and I think spending money, you're going to eat money. And I mean, you're willing to eat money is what I'm trying to say. And I think it's pretty clear Seidler's going to eat money one way or the other in these next couple years with a move of Hosmer in his contract or a move of other guys' contracts, areas on the team because they just need more athleticism, more power that they're just not getting right now. So Nelson Cruz, I mean, that would be a great addition.
I mean, 100%. I went to a Twins game and I don't think he was playing. No, he was playing. Byron Buxton wasn't playing.
Shocker.
The age is getting there, but this guy absolutely rakes. It's crazy. This game I went to, I think it was against the Reds. It was like a combined 20 runs scored, and Nelson Cruz went like 3 for 4 with like a double and a home run or something like that, which is crazy because he's 41 years old.
He moves like he can still run too.
I know he's not like insanely fragile. But he is 41, so there's always that concern. But I would be willing to give this guy a 2-year deal to come to San Diego and hit bombs like he's done this whole career, literally, ever since he was with, the Mariners, Rangers, Twins, wherever. I think that we seriously have insane interest in this guy, especially considering last year he wouldn't have even fitted, like you said, imagining Nelson Cruz at second base is insane to me. I would never in a million years picture him in the infield at second base. But I think, seriously,
going on.
Yeah, we're going to have Machado playing right field right behind him to back him up the whole time. But I think that 100% we seriously need to make a push. This is assuming, again, that is there is a DH. But I think that Nelson Cruz, you can honestly make an argument that you want him over Schwarber.
Those are the short term, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I think that's a really good option, 100%. Hopefully there's a DH. Hopefully they get a CBA agreement quick, even though it doesn't look like it. But yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, when the league and the players are literally all expecting it to be a lockout, I don't foresee an agreement coming quickly, else there wouldn't be a lockout. There would be an agreement. So yeah, that's going to suck. But yeah, so DH, Schwarber, Cruz, Soler's another one, but I wouldn't go after him. I think he's a little streaky. I think he's going to cost too much just based on his postseason performance and how he played with the Royals. But anyone else?
Why not, if we're talking about postseason guys, throw in Eddie Rosario.
Yeah.
Throw him in left. Why not? I mean, it was a lot of money. You know, they traded him from the Indians to the Braves, but I think he really kind of revived his free agency, kind of outlook. He wasn't doing that well for his amount of money he was getting paid. He wasn't doing that well with the Indians, but he won. He was a huge part of that postseason run, and I think that he's going to get at least a 1 year, 2 year deal. He might be worth looking at. I don't know. He's not on my list, but why not?
Yeah, the reason why he's not on my list because I don't think the power. I mean, the power is there, but it's not like
these other guys.
It's not like star worthy power.
Yeah.
I mean, I can look up his stats right here. I mean, but yeah, like you mentioned, he played well in the postseason. But like last year in the regular season, 14 home runs, so that's not really anything. Let's see here. I don't want to just judge him on that 1 year, so let's see what he did.
He had to have done something to get that big
17,
contract.
18, and 19, he hit at least 24 homers in each year. 2020, he hit 13 bombs in that short year. So there is power there, but the strikeouts are definitely there. He didn't strike out much in 2021, but when he did have those big home run years, he struck out 106 and 104 times.
Ooh.
So he is, I guess he's classified under a power bat, but I don't know.
He's just another name.
There's just something about him that's like, I don't know. I'd rather just go with like Tom Pham than Rosario for some reason.
But if all comes to worst, he's there, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just another option.
It's just interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much teams want to give him or how much the Braves want to give him, considering, the Freddie Freeman situation and Jock and Soler and how many guys they, need to bring back.
Yeah.
How much
Freddie's
money
coming to San Diego.
How much money they need, how much money they need to give him to
he turned down that 1 year, right? You heard that the 5 year something, I think it was like 5 for 90.
Who?
Freddie Freeman.
Oh, I was like, holy Rosario.
Yeah. No.
He turned down that. Oh my goodness. Dennis Schroeder type situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was 5 for one. I think it was 135 million. Maybe it was 7 years. 5. Let me see.
He turned down a lot of money, I know, so he wants to get paid.
Right. And I would have turned it down too if I was Freddie Freeman, because you should, get more than that based on what you've done. And
they need to hand that man a blank check and let him write whatever he wants on there.
5 years, 135 million.
Ooh.
So
that's a lot of money to turn down, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I mean, let's face it.
He's going to get more.
He wants like 200. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if Goldschmidt got 130, 150, something like that.
Wow.
In the Cardinals before he played one game in their uniform. And this guy's played like a decade there and won a World Series and MVP. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that's $27 million a year. Yeah, Freeman, he's definitely going to get paid. And I think the Braves, they'll overpay. Mm-hmm. They won a World Series. The Padres overpaid for Hosmer, and they haven't won a World Series. So, so this is pretty much the episode. We got outfielders. Chris Taylor, that's pretty much a long shot, but he's a utility guy, so maybe he wants to have a bigger role somewhere else. Jock Peterson, Andrew McCutchen, Mark Canha, Absol Garcia, I'm not going to mention Adam Jones as a real target. Tommy Pham, that's the outfield, and then like Kyle Schwarber, Nelson Cruz, and then outside shots, Soler and like Eddie Rosario.
Yeah.
Nick Castellanos fits, but not financially.
Not for the
that's
price.
that's a dream like scenario. But yeah, is there any other guys? We'll do like a pitching episode as well for anyone interested in that. But any other just position players, it could be any other positions. But infield's not a need. Catcher, we already have 2 of them. We just got to hope for better production out of it, to be honest, and better health.
Well, you kind of got 3 now. If Campusano does good, I don't know.
Right.
So I don't think catcher's a need. First base, we're kind of stuck right now, and we kind of have a couple backup options with Cronenworth and I guess Profar.
Yep.
Second base is good. Short and third, I don't even want to talk about because we're not even going to ever change that.
I think they're good. I think we're good there.
I think we're pretty good there, yeah. So I think we're good now.
Yeah. Before we got off here, I did want to mention I have gotten some questions about the podcast kind of not being on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. There is an update on that that I have for you now. I do write for gaslampball.com, so that they've kind of taken that and put it under their branch. So if you look up Talking Friars on like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, the first 50 or so episodes will be on there, and they'll always be there, so you can still look at those. But the new episodes from episode 72, the Agler interview, which you can go watch on YouTube or listen to, that was great. He definitely gave us a lot this past week. You can listen to that. So episode 72 and on from now on, if you look up Gaslamp Ball, GASLAMP BALL for anyone.
Anyone that can't spell.
Yeah. You can look that up and click on that, and the episode will be there on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. And it'll say Talking Friars episode, 72, Jesse Agler, or episode 73 now, outfield free agent targets, whatever I name it. So that's the update on that. The YouTube page, it'll still all be there. There's nothing changed with that. Still look up Talking Friars and you get all the videos there. And then social media is still the same. Twitter, Instagram, still the same. So that's the update on that. Just before
TikTok coming soon.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead with that. So that's the episode 73. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. We'll see if AJ Preller makes a move before this lockout. We'll see if a bench coach is filled finally. We'll see. What was that one? It was like the hitting coach. We shouldn't talk about that either. Berdar, what's his name?
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Michael Berdar, I think is his name. I didn't want to go on about it because everyone who says this is a great hire, you don't know who the heck the guy is. So let's stop.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Great.
Let's stop. Same with Ruben Niebla. Like I said, we knew stuff from reports, and I said, I guess I'm contradicting myself because I did say I thought it was a good hire, but we all don't know what we're talking about. We don't know who this guy is.
We hit good and pitch good, then they're great hires. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's that. That's the new hire for the hitting coach. Still no first base, third base coach, bench coach, but hopefully those are filled soon. But this has been episode 73. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you next week at some point. Until next time, Fadden and Jacob Zimmermann here. Let's go Padres.